Hey guys, welcome to Executive Espresso, and I'm so glad to see you here today. We got a special treat for you, the Lou Perez, funny man, the Lou Perez, and it's not just any Lou Perez; it is the Lou Perez. He's the author of a great book called "That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore." We're going to find out why that is because we'll be talking about the death and hopefully the rebirth of comedy. He is former head writer producer for the Webby award-winning internet show We the Internet TV. He's a comedian, a producer. He is a modern humor thought leader. Don't we need more of those? And of course, he's an expert in comedy, culture, and the business of psychology. And it's just great to have you here today, Lou. I love the name of the book, That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore. And that's one of the things I've been very concerned with is, why can't we make fun of ourselves anymore? Why have we begun to take ourselves so seriously? And how can we get back to living a lighter life and, just lightening up?
Thank you, Dr. Heath, for having me here. I think one of the problems that I sort of saw in the culture was that everything was politicized, uh, people were sort of unable to look critically at themselves or their own side. Because if you were to criticize yourself or your own side, you were sort of giving your perceived enemy bait. You were giving them ammunition. Um, and I think that's a really, that's a bad thing for a number of reasons. I think, being able to hold a mirror up to society and point out its flaws is really important. It's also important to be able to turn that mirror around and look at yourself and say, like, oh, maybe I don't have all the answers or I'm doing something wrong. It's very important to be self-critical and to be able to take jokes about yourself. And I think over the past, say, 8+ years in particular, there's been, such a strong division between people that, no one was ready to give the other side any bait, or anything, but wouldn't give them an inch. But I do think that overall, I've seen that changing in comedy. I'm happy to say that the rebirth of comedy is alive and well and growing. I think more and more people are willing to, step up and crack jokes and also make fun of their own side as well. So,
I love that. And as you're speaking, I'm reminded of a 2,000 year old dad joke from one of the
whoa.
fathers of Stoic philosophy. And the dad joke is Epictetus, who one of his students come to him and says, "Hey man, this dude is making fun of you." And Epictetus says, "If you knew me better, he'd come up with better jokes." And I think, wow, how great is that? I mean, what a great unfunny dad joke that is. But I'm from the days where there were celebrity roasts where people actually
Mm.
invited people to come and make fun of them. The Dean Martin Celebrity Roast. You guys want a great Christmas album? Get Dean Martin's Marshmallow World album. You can still get it probably off of eBay. One of my favorite albums I played the other night. But Dean Martin would have these celebrity roasts where people would actually show up knowing that they're just there for other people to make fun of them. And one of the things that you said, I hadn't thought about this before our interview here, is that in my profession of psychology, I find so many people lack insight. They're just not in touch with themselves or not in touch with what they think about themselves. And so I love your thought about comedy being a reflective mirror, a reflection of ourselves.
And I think comedy works too when you know what you're making fun of. And I think one of the things in particular when we talk about left or right wing comedy, is that in particular, if you watch it, like, sort of like late night shows that are, predominantly on the left or of the mainstream, when they crack jokes about, conservatives, it's you often wonder, like, do they know any conservatives? That there are a lot of things that there are a lot of times that I hear jokes or where I'm just like, oh, it would be really helpful if you actually knew somebody. And I happen to be a libertarian, which is, a minority group in the United States, and over the years I've seen people try to crack jokes about libertarians, and I kind of hearkening to the 2,000-year-old dad joke. It's like, oh no, I could help you write better jokes about libertarians because I am one. So I think even just from a perspective of being open to educating yourself by just knowing what other people actually think, can go a long way, not just in comedy, but also in life in general.
Well, having said that, it comes to mind a one of my favorite characters from Star Trek, Data. I'm a Trekkie, and Data was always going around trying to figure out, Data. Gosh, what was he? Not an android. I guess he maybe kind of. I can't recall what his designation was, but not a human. Maybe we'll have one of those soon. But he was always trying to figure out what is it that makes a joke funny. So, what
Mm.
would you say is the anatomy of a good joke?
Oh, my God, it's that's a tough. I know there's an answer, and I should have done my research before this. I was on my friend Peter Boghossian had asked. I was on his podcast a while back, and he had asked me, like, is there a universal joke that would just land, no matter what culture you're in and all that? That was a tough question. I think this is a,
Yeah, I
a
can't
tough
imagine
question
what
as
that
well.
would be. It's kind of like
Yeah,
what's the perfect country song? And I
yeah,
heard what I guess that was Jelly Roll maybe singing a song that was like the perfect country song, or maybe it was somebody else. But
there's got to be heartache and beer and a truck or something like
yeah,
that.
there's got to be a truck, and there's got to be, a beer, and there's got to be a dog, and it's got to be something about a train wreck, and there's a
Yeah.
famous country song. But what would be the perfect joke from a psychological perspective? I think there's got to be an unexpected twist at the end.
Yeah,
I
a reversal. Yeah,
Some
something
kind of
like that. Yeah,
reversal,
a
yeah,
surprise.
a
Yeah, for sure.
surprise. And I think the thing that's funny about a joke is it's really the opposite of fear because you're waiting on something to happen, but the thing that happens is not dangerous, and it kind of
Mm,
surprises you and catches your attention. And then I think the other thing that happens, there's a bit of mystery to a joke that you kind of have to figure it out. Like, I think that's why people don't laugh at my dad jokes because they just can't freaking figure it out. And I'll tell my family, if you were smarter, you'd laugh more at my jokes. So it's really your problem, not mine.
Well,
So
you gotta make one. You gotta become a dad in order to to
to
have
tell
that
dad
lived
jokes.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
there is
moms
stuff
can't
that
tell dad
happens. Yeah,
jokes.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I remember. I mean, when both of my boys were very young, the only one of us who could make them laugh was their mother. And you know how upsetting that is to a professional comedian who's literally feeding these children off of my comedic labor. But a friend of mine, she pointed out, she's like, well, mom's got the boobies,
Hey,
so
there you go.
that,
Yeah.
that she's feeding them, so
Hey, in
there's
the modern day, you know what, Lou? There's a fix for that. You can actually go buy yourself some of those, and
whoa.
you too can be a funny man with the boobies. Lou, the funny man with the boobies. But and you see there, I kind of tiptoed into an area that a lot of people really avoid. But I think that again, one of our biggest problems these days is oversensitization. I did a space on this on X just the other day. What's the problem with becoming just too sensitized to everything? And the problem is the same thing that happened to my puppy dog this morning. My puppy dog, he's right underneath my desk. He's 17 years old, by the way, so he's a geriatric puppy dog. But my wife went to take him out to potty, and he stuck his nose out the door, experienced the coldness on his nose, and he pee-peed right there in the front door on the rug because he's become overly sensitized to the outdoors where used to it wouldn't be that big of a deal to him because he was an outside dog. He's only
Mm,
inside now because he's older. So I think that the problem people don't see is when you start making comedy illegal, and I think that, and I'd welcome your thoughts on this, but I noticed this myself that it seemed like it was just not okay to make a joke about this group or this other group, and you could make a joke about everybody but me or my group. I think that's a very dangerous thing, and I think there's a big downside to that if you're the group that lacks such resilience that no one can even make fun of you. I welcome it. I welcome being made fun of because, like you said, you're making jokes about me kind of serves as a mirror for me. And if I'm taking it personally, why would that be? I said to a patient here recently, I said to many patients, what if somebody made a joke and accused you of being a Plutonian? From the planet. I guess it's not a planet. It's been
It's
harassed.
just it's just snow and rocks,
It's just
ice and
snow and
rocks.
rocks.
It's about.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
lost its status. People make fun of it. It's the wannabe planet. You would think that some political group is going to take this up and start making fun of Pluto. Start defending Pluto and making it illegal to make fun of Pluto because Pluto for many years adopted the identity of a planet, and now Pluto has been robbed of its rightful identity as a planet. But see, what would happen if somebody accused you and made fun of you for being a Plutonian? Well, you wouldn't take offense because, why? Because there's no belief inside of you that that accusation is a threat or that that joke is a threat. People only take offense at comedy when they believe that your comedy is in some way a threat to them. And I think that's a weak mindset.
Yeah, I agree, and I find the whole idea of punching up versus punching down, the idea that comedy doesn't punch down, it's incredibly condescending. Just the just the idea of being able to say, like, look, I can't make fun of you because you're beneath me. You are so lower than me that I can't even make fun of you. I can't even criticize what you're doing because it's like you're an animal without agency. You're that puppy dog that sticks its nose out and pisses on the carpet. Like, what am I going to do? I'm dealing with someone that's not on my level. So yeah, without a doubt, I
Which
find it
really sounds
incredibly condescending.
insulting. In a way, I think if you can't make fun of me, if you think that you can't make a joke at my expense, then really I find that insulting that you
Mhm.
think I'm so weak that you cannot make a joke about me.
Yeah, and one of the there was a comedian, a young comedian named Crip Daddy, his name Donovan Castillo, and he passed away, I believe, a little over a year ago. And Donovan was a young comic who was very dark humor, very funny, very hilarious, and also Donovan was born with a rare condition where he lived his entire life, in a wheelchair, in a motorized wheelchair. So he was, disabled, handicapped, or whatever you call it. And a few years back, before Elon Musk bought Twitter, we were seeing a lot of people being, having their Twitter accounts banned.
Yeah.
And I remember Donovan going back and forth and calling out. I think it was Gay Wonk. I think that was the guy's. I forget what the guy's name is, but he's like some fake journalist, bullshit guy. He's like one of the. I think he comes from a family of millionaires, but he just happens to be a socialist. Um, and Donovan was calling out this guy for his inability to take a joke and saying, like, nothing is off limits. Basically, look at me. I could take it and I can dish it out. And something like that, I think, is really it showed an incredible strength. Of this young kid who was dealing with a lot more shit than most of us have to deal with. And he could dish it out, and he could take it, and he can dish it out. So I think it is really important. And also, any chance I get the opportunity to talk about him too. If you haven't checked out Crip Daddy's work, he left us an album, and just a lot of darkness, but very humorous darkness.
Yeah, I like that. I think that dark humor can be very healing. And when you're talking about what comes to mind is the Robin Williams movie Patch Adams, where Robin Williams and Patch Adams actually helps a dying man deal with his own death by making fun of his journey into death. Um, it's the one thing that kind of wakes the guy up, and that's what I love about the existentialist philosophers is that they talk about the dark absurdity of life. I like to talk about Camus. He probably didn't say it; he said something close to it, but he would say, "I'm either going to kill myself or have a cup of coffee," you know. And so it's all about, how do you find meaning in life, even if it's having a cup of coffee? And how can you make fun of the absurdity of life to start coping with life? So having said that, what do you think is
I can't wait for this question. Having said that, Lou, what is the meaning of life? Here
having
you go,
talked about
quoting
comedy and
Camus.
death? What do you think is
Yeah,
the future of the death of comedy?
the future of the God. Well, one thing you bring up Patch Adams, and it's been a while since I've seen it, but I think within that the tale of Patch Adams, there's a story about the strength of humor, perhaps the medicinal elements of humor. If you're laughing, it's good for you. But then I think there's also a warning sign, danger there, and this might be a spoiler. It's also of understanding the boundaries between humor and your profession, because I believe in that movie, one of the patients ends up murdering either it's Patch Adams' wife or girlfriend,
His
because
girlfriend, yeah,
I guess she's going to do a house visit or something like that to a guy who's a psychotic,
yeah.
and sometimes there are no amounts of red clown noses and jokes that are going to protect you. So I think and this might be somewhat like a general, like kind of like business, a business thing is being able to separate, what your core business is versus how you're selling that business, or putting it out there. So, like I know people who have I'm not even going to say what kind of business they have, but they have a business, a brick and mortar business, and they follow me on Instagram. And there was a time where they were liking a number of my posts that were, jokes that I was making. And, I happen to deal in oftentimes dark humor, satire, taking on controversial subjects, sacred cows, and all that. And I told them, stop liking my stuff. Stop doing it under the banner of your business, because there is absolutely no reason why your business that provides a specific service to all kinds of people. There's no reason why you should be basically telling the world, validating, like, oh, we agree with this, even if it's a joke. So it's important to be able to have lines of separation, and also not only to protect your ass, but then also to understand, like, there are some places where politics don't need to go, and we've seen what happened with so many businesses that they get called out because you know they failed to change their banner on their social media to say that they were for this cause or that cause. So I think a world where people are free to not engage in politics is a really important one as well.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And I think that there is a place for humor in business. I think the
Yeah.
place for humor in business is letting people know that you can have humor that doesn't, advocate any type of putting down of another group. That is, I'd like to say, not in good faith. And the best place you can find humor is at yourself. I think the
Mhm.
safest place you can find humor, not get in trouble for it, is at yourself. I used to consult for a company, and they actually hired a professional double talker. I'd never
Hmm.
heard of that before, but the guy was a
Yeah. What is that?
professional double talker. He would bring the CEO and the CFO and the head poobahs on stage, and he would double talk and ask them a question. He would start out very seriously, and so you can imagine the CEO is I mean, he's ready to wow the crowd
Hmm.
with his knowledge. And then the professional double talker just came out with a bunch of nonsense syllables. And what do you think about that, Mr. CEO? And then the CEO, not in order to save face, he would just start making crap up. He had no idea what the guy was talking about. The crowd knew that he had no idea what he was talking about, and the CEO's up there trying to make up crap about stuff he knew nothing about, which I guess maybe is what CEOs do for a living anyway, is act like they know what they're talking about, and often they don't. But this was a company that was willing to have themselves made fun of. And I think one of the best things you can do in your life, especially like as a parent, is let your kids know that somebody making fun of you does not mean that you are of less worth. As a matter of fact, having the resilience to have someone make fun of you shows character. Shows your character. And so I say, bring it on. Let's bring back the comedy. Let's resurrect it. Let's have a future of humor in our lives, in our families, in our relationships. I love it when my wife makes fun of me. Some men get offended at that. I think it's fantastic, you know. But let's leave the crowd with one of your go-to jokes. You have some joke to kind of leave them with that might tiptoe into some dangerous area.
Oh, oh
I'm
man,
putting Lou on the spot here today.
yeah, you're putting me on the spot. Oh God, what did I put out the other day? You know, one of the go-to setups for comedians is that dating is hard. Dating is hard. Dot dot dot. If you're pregnant, so I'm gonna put that up. Okay, I gotta laugh. That's not maybe a courtesy laugh, but if anyone's looking for a one-liner, and ladies, you know what I'm talking about. It's really hard to find a good man when you have a bun in the oven. So.
And you know what? I think that humor is a work in progress. And so if you're in a relationship, I think that experimenting with humor is really a healthy thing. I think it relaxes people. By the way, humor improves your immune system response.
Your humors. It improves your
Yeah,
humors.
it improves your
Yeah.
humors.
Well, I'm always amazed. I just can't. I
I
mean,
had a
I've
patient that
always.
recently broke their humors.
Oh
It was
no.
no laughing
Really?
matter. But dad
It
jokes
was-
all day long, I'm telling you.
yeah, I'll take them. I'm going to use them on my kids later, and they're not going to know they're not going to know anything I'm talking about. But
One of the
no, I
things I
think.
like to do as a dad is write down funny things that my son says to make fun of me.
Oh, oh,
Because then I'm going to make a book and it's going to come back to haunt him when he's a
yeah.
dad because I'm going to give it to his kids. I'm going to give it to my grandkids, not my son. I'll say, here's all the weaponized humor that your dad used against me. Have fun with it. And he'll be sitting around, gosh, I've heard that before. Where did that come from? And well, it came from you. My son made a pastime all the time growing up of making fun at me and rolling his eyes at my dad jokes and things like that. So experiment with humor, and you too can be like some guys are amateur magicians. I'm an amateur magician. I'm also a amateur comedian, as my fan would be glad to tell you. But just real quick, let's kind of wrap it up here with a few
Sure.
questions. For Lou, even as a comedian, what's your top mental struggle?
Uh, the top mental struggle that I deal with a lot because I'm a comedian. I write and I also produce professionally. So I always have way too many projects going on at the same time. So I never have, fortunately, at least for the past, I would say about the past 10 years, I don't have writer's block. I never have writer's block. I always have too many ideas and things at different projects at different stages where I'm unable to focus on what needs to be
Yeah,
what needs
Lou
to
the
be done.
scrambled egg. One of my favorite foods. That's what we both have in common with scrambled eggs. We're scattered, right? We're scattered.
Hmm.
What's your biggest mindset hack?
I think the mindset hack is deadlines definitely help, but then also having like if you have 10 projects and two of them are a go, two of them have a deadline, two of them have, it's like, okay, we need to get this done. That's really helpful. So I think, deadlines, goals, really help things, and it helps things not only when it comes to comedy in a professional space, but also all sorts of things. So recently, I ran up the Empire State Building. I won there's a lottery every year to run the Empire State Building, and I got it. And of course, I got it at a stage in life where I wasn't necessarily in the best shape to do that. So I only had a few, kind of a couple of months to train for it. But it was like, okay, I know this is happening on this day. What is my conditioning going to look like leading up to that? So I haven't been since I ran up the Empire State Building. I haven't been training like I'm running up the Empire State Building, but that goal got me to
How many
to
flights
do
of
what I need to do.
stairs is that anyway?
I think it's over 80. So
80 flights of stairs. If I was in charge of that, I would have said, since it's Lou, we're going to add a twist. You got to tell a joke at every flight of stairs. That's only 80 jokes. It's only 80
oh my
jokes.
goodness.
Here's my mindset hack is I would recommend to our audience based on today's topic is ask yourself at lunch and at the end of the day, what have I laughed at today? If you're not finding
That's a good
something
one.
to laugh at every day, you need to get Lou's book, That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore, and read a lot of jokes that aren't funny and then see that they really are. Let's resurrect humor in our lives. What did you once get most wrong about comedy, even as a comedian? What did you have wrong about comedy in your career, in your life?
I I th- Probably how seriously people can take it, how
Ah,
seriously people can take a joke. So, growing up, uh, growing up, or working in comedy over the past 20 years, where so much of it is about putting stuff out there, failing, bombing, things not working out, and then moving on and trying to strengthen things. It's For me, comedy is always like a process, and then putting something out that is started as a in a comedic place, and then having people latch onto it and criticize it as if it's government policy has been the thing that I guess still surprised me to some degree.
and just let's leave our audience with maybe an affirmation, something they can take them with into the weekend that just kind of lifts them up, some type of affirmation.
Yeah, laugh so hard it hurts. That's what
I
I'd say.
love that. Yeah, and when's the last time you did that? When's the last time you did that? I love experiencing the full range of human emotions. Listen, this is a little recognized truth from psychology. No emotions are bad. No emotions are harmful. No, your emotions won't make your head melt. But one of the things that we leave off the table is finding opportunities to experience all those emotions. And one of those is just humor. One of those is just laughing. And again, one of the best reservoirs where you can find humor is even in a room by yourself. You can find a reason to laugh at yourself. And here's one thing you can do to accomplish that um, look in the mirror and make faces. When you're having a really rough day, when you think the world is upside down and just dark and gray, look in the mirror and make faces and see if you don't laugh at some of those. That's not even a really good one. I can make some really, really good ones in the mirror. So make faces in the mirror. Lou, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. We got to do this again sometime. But all the best to you and your book. You guys take a look at that over on Amazon. And we'll see you next time on Executive Espresso.
Thanks, Dr. Heath.
Thank you.